Well, the threat level of the United States Constitution was raised over the past couple of days to a level I've not seen before, as the governor of New Mexico, Michelle Grisham, issued a public health emergency. And she says as a result, she can suspend constitutional rights in the land of enchantment, or is it the land of disenchantment today? The problem is the governor is wrong. It's simply not true. Let's sort this out for a bit, can we? To me, it's clear this is another test run on how to erode and destroy the rights of American citizens under the guise of, it's an emergency. We can do this, it's an emergency. To me, this is clearly another exercise being conducted under that banner. We first saw plenty of public emergencies during COVID, of course, banning people from working, gathering, or even traveling to second homes, all under the threat of penalties from the government. I also don't believe this move in New Mexico happened in a vacuum. Nope, didn't happen that way. There's no way Governor Grisham pulled this stunt without first running it by people in Washington. I simply don't believe she did this on her own. This, in my opinion, was a planned play that was called and executed, and if you think this is being put in place to target criminals on the streets of Albuquerque, well, you would be wrong. And we're going to break this down for you one step at a time because, as even Democrats admit, there is no such thing as a state public emergency of any kind that suspends the U.S. Constitution in part or in whole. But let's hear what the governor had to say during a press conference after announcing this outrageous attack on gun ownership. Listen.
And to your point, just arrest everyone. Well, I also have to have the ability, I can't arrest everyone. There are literally too many people to arrest.
Well,
this would allow us.
If someone got a concealed carry permit in Albuquerque walking down a public street, they're not going to get arrested.
I can make the point that maybe they should be. And this is the point. I'm willing to do anything and everything within a shred of evidence-based effort.
So you heard the governor right there say she could argue that law-abiding citizens in her state that have obtained a license to legally carry a concealed weapon should be arrested. She didn't say could be. She said should be arrested for walking down a public sidewalk, committing no crime at all, but being at odds with her illegal public health order banning constitutional rights. And the reason I say this is a test run is because we saw during COVID people being arrested for walking alone on beaches in California, for example, or a public park in Maryland. Now it's just taken a step further. Let's listen to the governor again, specifically to that point. Here it is.
If someone got a concealed carry permit in Albuquerque walking down a public street, they're not going to get arrested.
I can make the point that maybe they should be. And this is the point. I'm willing to do anything and everything.
I'm willing to do anything and everything, including violating your God-given constitutional rights because I'm governor, damn it, and I don't care. So an odd series of comments. I mean, these are the same Democrats that have implemented soft-on-crime policies all over this country, getting rid of cash bails, letting criminals walk the streets as the revolving door of justice keeps spitting them back out, and then spitting in the face of law-abiding, tax-paying citizens, and it just got more strange the more she talked. She claims that by suspending constitutional rights, police can target real criminals, which she apparently doesn't seem to think happens right now in Albuquerque and elsewhere across her state. Here it is.
If you're not horrified that on any street corner in too many cities in New Mexico, there is someone with a gun sticking out of their waist or their belt. And I'll tell you, if you're a young person, you're not allowed to have a handgun.
Well, it's a crime already.
I got it. But we won't be able to arrest all of them. So imagine, just in a perfect world, if this was upheld, it gives all of these police officers the ability to focus on the real criminals.
Yep, the police. It's their fault. And so they can now not worry about the law-abiding citizens that have been stripped of their gun rights, allegedly, by the governor. Now they can focus on real crime and real criminals. Couldn't they do that before? And there are no exceptions. Zero exceptions. That's the point of the Constitution. So she delivered the foundation for her ill-advised executive order. You see, the governor apparently thinks her oath to defend and protect the Constitution of the United States is arbitrary, subjective. She can uphold her oath or she can ignore it. It depends on how she feels on any given day. She thinks the Constitution is subject to her discretion. In fact, she seems to think, having listened to her there, she seems to think that she is the law. She is the Constitution of the United States. And if she declares an emergency, then it's up to her and her alone to decide what rights the peasants in New Mexico have or don't have. Here she is again.
You took an oath to the Constitution. Isn't it unconstitutional to say you cannot exercise your carry license?
With one exception, and that is if there's an emergency and I've declared an emergency for a temporary amount of time, I can invoke additional powers. No constitutional right, in my view, including my oath, is intended to be absolute. There are restrictions on free speech. There are restrictions on my freedoms. In this emergency, this 11-year-old and all these parents who have lost all these children, they deserve my attention to have the debate about whether or not in an emergency we can create a safer environment. Because what about their constitutional rights?
Yeah, I don't see it here. I keep looking for that exception. There's no exception here. There's no exception that says, well, unless the governor of a state thinks that there's an emergency, at which point the Constitution's thrown out the window. I don't see that here. That's why I keep a copy of the Constitution on my desk every day for reference, because it's important. And these words matter.